Inazuma 11 is easily the weirdest sports anime ever. And I don't mean weird as in JoJo's or Baki. I mean weird as in we go from a young boy trying to revive his school's dead football club to this guy attempting to murder a group of 12-year-olds over a sports tournament. And then they basically fight gods who aren't actually gods but just kids on drugs, to then fighting aliens who aren't actually aliens but kids being powered by a meteorite, to eventually traveling through time and fighting actual aliens. But let's focus on that first part for now. This guy who looks a lot like Dr. Doofenshmirtz is so sick in the head that he gets someone to cut the brakes in the Raimon team bus. Please just take a moment to think about what I said. This grown adult wants to win a children's sports competition so badly that he is willing to kill about 20 kids. Now I want you to close your eyes for a second and pretend you're out watching a middle school sports event. It can be anything: football, basketball, volleyball, hell, even Now imagine one of the parents see their kids losing, so he decides to shoot the other kid in the face. That's basically what Kageyama does. But let's backtrack a bit so we know what's going on. Raimon just got hammered 20-1 against Royal Academy, but avoided their school being literally steamrolled because Kageyama ordered for his team to forfeit the game. That sentence in itself should raise some alarm bells, but let's keep moving. They then play a cult whose coach hypnotizes Raimon into not being able to move. Again, what kind of sports anime are we watching here? I'm pretty sure there's more logic in Dragon Ball, and that show has flying cars and dinosaurs in the same time period, and we see the moon being blown up not once, but twice. Thanks to whatever the hell Endo did, Raimon beat them, and I'll be honest, I don't really know how. But that doesn't matter because they can officially play in the Football Frontier, the competition that decides the best team in the country. Now this competition is anything but a straightforward tournament. This isn't Haikyuu where we have actual strategy and character arcs, but somehow it's still some of the wackiest and most entertaining anime I've ever watched. But then again, the way the teams are picked should already tell you how weird this thing's going to be. Why are they wearing literal bunny heads? It's one thing to wear a bunny suit, but having the actual head should raise some eyebrows. And this is the coach of the team Raimon will be playing in the first round. Do I even need to comment on this? They definitely knew what they were doing with this shot. But in all seriousness, Endo and Aki's relationship is really wholesome. It's kind of surprising this show even has a B plot. Or I guess it's more accurate to call it a D or an E plot. There's this whole kind of will they, won't they between Endo and Aki and Natsumi. In the second game, you can even pick which of the two you go on a date with. I mean, you can pick Haruna too, but even she'd call you an idiot for doing that. And speaking of idiots, this guy has to be the worst coach in history. I've never seen a coach that so openly hates his team. He's like Jose Mourinho without any of the aura. He even wonders why this new kid wants to join the team, and as you'll find out later, he has a pretty good reason. He also knows Aki from when they were kids, which you'd think is important, but it really isn't. He tells the team that their next opponent, Wild Junior High, are really good in the air, so the team have to come up with a new special move that will give them a fighting chance. Their search for a new move leads them to hunting down a secret notebook, and it turns out that Endo actually knows how to crack open safes. I'm just going to have to make a rule to not question what this guy does, because apparently he can counter hypnosis and somehow break open safes. And that's without talking about all the stuff he does in Aries and Orion. Oh wait, never mind, I kind of just jumped the gun. He doesn't actually know how to open safes. But luckily, Natsumi is more than willing to help them get to what's inside. But who does this notebook even belong to? Well, it's none other than the legendary Inazuma 11. They were pretty much one of the best teams in the world 40 years ago, coached by Endo's grandfather. But when he asks his mom about them, she pretends not to know, which is pretty suspicious, but not as suspicious as the fact that Domon is literally a Royal Academy spy. They didn't even wait a little bit to hold off on that piece of information. We literally find out he's a spy less than 15 minutes after he's introduced. But that's not even close to the weirdest thing, because it turns out that the special move they're looking for involves Goenji literally jumping off Kageyama's belly like a trampoline. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a bunch of character development in between, with Kageyama being afraid of heights but wanting to work hard for both the team and his brother. And Natsumi questions why everyone is so passionate about football, only to fall in love with the sport herself without even realizing it. But we both know you're not here for narrative structure and character development, so let's skip ahead to the day of the match where we meet Wild Junior High, who are somehow even weirder than a cult. This guy looks like the love child of that one guy from Naruto and James from Pokemon. And this guy doesn't even have eyebrows, he just has a I don't even know what that is. It's like he's gone Super Saiyan 3. All in all, the rest of the students are actually pretty normal, and the school is drop dead gorgeous. Like, can you imagine going to school here instead of somewhere like this? I could do without this guy though. I'm assuming he's speaking another language because the students can actually understand him, and they give Raimon a real run for their money, with Goenji unable to use his fire tornado thanks to their amazing jumping, and they counter pretty easily. But luckily, Endo is still the GOAT and is able to take care of things. Unfortunately, they still struggle to find the back of the net, with Somioka spraining his ankle and Domon taking his place. And it turns out he's actually pretty good, and wait a minute, isn't that a Royal Academy move? How is no one suspicious? The game continues with both teams going back and forth, and Endo just about keeping Raimon in the game with save after save. But hey, last time out they were losing about 10-0, so this is a big improvement. The second half continues in the same way as the first, with the team failing to perfect the Inazuma drop, and Endo shows us why he's the GOAT. Seriously, this kid is basically the Lionel Messi of goalkeepers. I sure hope they never decide it's boring to have him in net and move him outfield. Seeing Endo and the rest of the team working so hard gives Kageyama the motivation he needs to overcome his fear of heights, and we finally get to see them perfect the Inazuma drop. I know this video is getting kinda long, but I can't not show this wholesome moment between Natsumi and Endo. Besides, it's kinda important later on because she ends up becoming a manager. I really question what this girl does all day. We never see her in class, she's always just chilling in the principal's office, and after school she just watches Raimon practice. But then again, it ends up being pretty useful because she bans the team from practicing special moves in public so they don't get spied on. I still don't understand why people are taking a children's football tournament so seriously that they are doing a high-tech CIA level analysis. And speaking of high-tech, their next opponent, Brainwashing Junior High, have a augmented reality system where they prepare to play Raimon. And yes, you heard that right. This school is literally called Brainwashing. And somehow that's even weirder than being named a cult. And not only have they run simulations on how to stop all of Raimon's moves, including Goenji's fire tornado, but they can even copy them. Do you know how much aura you need to have to be able to not only steal Goenji's move, but also his theme song? I have to put this guy in S tier just for that. Also, if anyone disagrees with this tier list, please know that you are wrong and you should take a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror. Like, how can I put this guy any higher? Have you seen his hair? How do you even do that? And he's not the only one with a weird hairstyle, because Raimon's chairman isn't much better. Honestly, I can't decide which one of these two is worse. But luckily, Natsumi's father over here makes up for his bad trim by helping Natsumi discover these secret rooms under the school. Seriously, how do you even forget something like this? It turns out that these secret rooms are the training center of the legendary Inazuma 11. Imagine being so good that your school digs out thousands of cubic meters under the main building just to create a training facility for you. Let's just take a minute to think about how much this would cost and where the hell they got the money from. But let's also remember Natsumi is the one that found it, and that's why she's the GOAT. The facility is less of a training center and more of a prison, because it doesn't let you leave until you finish the training. And if you thought using tires to train was weird, you haven't seen anything yet. From a car trying to run you over to a literal machine gun to whatever this is, it's fair to say the training is less than conventional. And the only question is if it's made the team strong enough to fight against Brainwashing Junior High. So let's find out by skipping ahead to match day, where Brainwashing start off by doing that typical anime trope where they just don't move, leaving their opponent all puzzled until they come out of nowhere to turn the tables on them. But the thing is, I don't think there's any dirty play involved here. I mean, a cult literally hypnotized them, but Brainwashing are just following their coach's orders. It's pretty normal actually. Hell, if anything, it's super impressive how well they can carry out his commands. They even position themselves in a way that they use their bodies to slow down Dragon Crash before it reaches the keeper. That's really impressive. I can't even hate on it. But Raimon are pretty impressive too. It's clear their training has actually paid off, because Goenji's fire tornado is able to break through shot pocket even if he doesn't score. But their keeper takes it up a level with a new special move. Luckily, he isn't the only world-class keeper on the pitch, as Endo does a pretty good job of stopping Brainwashing until they end up tricking him with some pretty clever play. And then it's like I'm watching Team Y versus Team Z in Blue Lock, because Brainwashing are happy with passing it around and running down the clock. And hey, I can't argue with that either. The game's the game. Everyone's really distraught and they've all lost hope in winning the game, except for Natsumi the GOAT, who still believes Raimon have got this. One thing I didn't quite understand is how everyone hates brainwashing for relying on data and playing in a way that's unsportsmanlike. But I really don't see the problem here. The point of the game isn't to be the most entertaining team, it's to win. In fact, in the second half, they're given orders by Kageyama to physically crush Raimon, and they flat out refuse to follow through with it. I don't understand why everyone hates them. They're easily one of my favorite teams. But enough of my little rant, let's get back to the match where Endo wins the ball back, joins the attack, and actually takes a pretty good shot. It makes Takeshi realize there's more to football than just winning, and he goes against his coach's orders and commands his team to attack. And this is probably the first thing he's done that I don't agree with. My guy, there's like 10 minutes left and you're winning. Just do your thing and win the game. But no, he wants to have fun, and it results in Raimon taking a goal back with a new special move. It just goes to show you should always listen to Natsumi, because the team are now way more athletic and capable than they were before. And just as you'd expect, Raimon end up winning with Dragon Tornado, which is pretty weird because Takeshi stopped that move before, so I'm not really sure why it went in this time, but I've learned my lesson to try and find the logic behind the stuff in this show. And it looks like Kageyama is also done with all this bullshit because he abandons Brainwashing's coach, leading to their coach abandoning Brainwashing, which then leads to a really entertaining end-to-end game with both teams giving it their all. And then we get one of the sickest moments of the whole show where Arata stops Goenji's fire tornado with his own fire tornado. Not only that, but he still manages to head the ball to safety. Please tell me again how this guy isn't in S tier. It even motivates Takeshi to run down the pitch and take a shot, which makes me question why the goalkeepers are so good at dribbling that nobody can ever tackle them. But like I said before, this show doesn't care about logic. Now, I know the main point of the episode is how Goenji is injured and won't be able to play in the semi-finals, but let's just take a minute to look at the episode title. I mean, come on, they had to have known what they were doing there. It turns out that Raimon's next opponent, Otaku Junior High, are one of the weakest teams in the tournament, but somehow end up beating a cult. So naturally, the team decide to scout out their opposition for some more information by visiting a spot Otaku normally frequent, a maid cafe. Now, I'm not gonna say I haven't been to a maid cafe before, don't ask questions, but it's pretty obvious Kakeru, aka Willy, has. In fact, he's such a natural that these two distinguished gentlemen invite him and the rest of the team to the basement, which should raise a lot of red flags, but clearly common sense is just as absent as logic is in this anime. There's a whole bunch of nerdy shit down here, but the important thing to note is that these guys are actually the Otaku team, and Raimon feel a little relieved that for the first time, their opponents actually seem pretty underwhelming. But then that raises the question, how did they beat a cult? Well, we're going to find out on the day of the match where Kakeru replaces the injured Goenji. And you'd think that could spell trouble because obviously Goenji is way better, but it's actually not that big of a deal because Otaku are pretty bad. But they still managed to end the first half at 0-0 because Raimon aren't used to playing against people who are so weird. And that's saying something considering they played against a team of farm animals. Surprisingly, the weirdest person here isn't actually a player, but the coach himself. Now you might be wondering, Mocha, why is it weird for a man to mind his own business and eat watermelons? Well, I'll tell you. It's because this grown-ass man has set a rule that all managers must dress as maids. And no, I don't just mean Otaku's managers, who are all literal children, mind you. He wants the underage opposition managers to also dress as maids. And as you can imagine, Natsumi isn't so thrilled by that. But the other two don't really seem to care, and it's pretty much business as usual for them as the team get ready for the second half. And that's when I'd argue things get even weirder. It turns out Otaku were just conserving their energy and actually can play decent football, but they still use a bunch of dirty tricks like swapping the ball out with a watermelon and moving the entire goal each time Raimon shoots. Luckily, Kakeru is able to figure this out, but not before Otaku score the first goal with the weirdest shot I've ever seen. Like, can you just imagine your mate picked you up and used you like a baseball bat? Actually, that would actually be pretty sick. But I'd argue this isn't even the weirdest move we've seen, as Somioka and Kakeru combine to score a goal with whatever the hell this is. This is actually a real move in the games. It's not a good one, but hey, it's there. It results in Kakeru having to be stretchered off, but seeing his passion motivates Otaku to play properly, which gives Raimon the chance they need to take the lead and secure their spot in the finals of the Football Frontier Qualifiers, where they will be playing none other than Royal Academy. But before that match, there's a lot that happens, including betrayals and a literal murder attempt. So if you don't want to miss that match, make sure to subscribe and check out this Haikyuu video if you're a fan of sports anime. It's one of my best videos ever. Thanks for watching.